Hello and welcome. I'm Christian Perry, Director of Syndicated Research at Enterprise Strategy Group, and I'm joined by Principal Analyst Mike Leone. Nice to have you here today, Mike.
Thanks for having me, Christian.
So today we're going to talk about generative AI, which has dominated headlines and it's dominated decision-making mindshare in 2023. And here at ESG, we recently conducted a study that dove into emerging use cases, challenges, stakeholders, and other areas around this very disruptive, very promising technology. And we can confidently say that after this research, Gen AI will have a massive impact on nearly every area of the business and IT ecosystem. So, Mike, as you know, we surveyed organizations of all sizes and found that 78% of respondents said they use generative AI for personal use, but only 36% said their organization has a policy that prevents or limits the use of Gen AI. Now, clearly, generative AI appears pretty heavily weighted toward personal use at this time. So, Mike, can you talk about those implications around this current usage and how you expect it to change moving forward?
Yeah, great question. I think this is creating a really interesting dynamic that needs some rebalancing. Folks are getting comfortable using these tools to help boost productivity, but because of a lack of company policy, it's introducing a fair amount of risk. And I think that risk is being seen in several areas: security, privacy, compliance. We've seen several examples of individuals using these tools and inadvertently sharing intellectual property or relying on a response that happened to be incorrect. Hallucinations are still a very real problem in these platforms. And it's a big reason why we're seeing a major focus on retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, which is really meant to help reduce risk and mitigate those hallucinations. Now, the good news is I think that this is such an important issue, and there's such a high level of awareness now in the space that vendors are taking significant action to enable customers to ensure that this tech is enterprise ready.
And we also found that the most common challenge organizations are facing is the lack of employee expertise and then the lack of employee skills, followed by ethical and legal considerations and also data quality. There's plenty to consider here. Mike, why are these particular challenges bubbling to the top?
Yeah, look, throughout this year at all of the technology events that we've seen, there's been so many amazing use cases that have been shown on stage, and it's created a level of FOMO where organizations are seeing that generative AI can improve operational efficiency, boost productivity, enhance the customer experience. And because there are tools that are readily available for everyone to embrace for free for the most part, I think it's creating a false sense of confidence that organizations think they can execute their Gen AI initiatives at an organizational level. And frankly, it's exposing organizations that simply don't have in-house talent to execute, implement, manage, and scale some of these solutions. They're quickly realizing that, hey, we need help here. And who are they turning to for help? Well, it's vendors, it's management consultancies, it's systems integrators. Now, on the data quality side, AI systems rely on training data to be as accurate as possible. So without the proper data curation and quality controls in place, AI models can amplify flaws in existing data and generate biased responses or inaccurate results. And then on the ethics side, like we touched on this a little already, but a lack of clear guidelines to ensure that what's being generated adheres to ethical and compliance standards, it's critical. So all of these areas are a big reason why I think 2024 is going to be the year for responsible AI, and we're going to be dedicating a lot of time in researching this area going forward.
That's great to hear, and certainly a lot to think about, potentially a lot to worry about. There is lots of good news as well. We found that over half of the organizations surveyed were more likely to consider a vendor that incorporates Gen AI into their products or services. We also found that only 12% of organizations are not willing to pay more for a product that includes Gen AI. So, in other words, they're willing to invest. Mike, can you talk about what's driving these trends and how you expect them to impact the market moving forward?
Yeah, look, there are a lot of advantages for organizations to simply check a box and gain access to some integrated Gen AI capabilities. The tech is still new for a lot of organizations, and frankly, it's not at the cost effective stage yet to deploy and manage something on your own. And it's a big reason why organizations care about fast on ramp and time to value. And what better way to gain value than offloading the entire development and implementation to a vendor that has the expertise, understands the best way to integrate it, recognizes the need to offer consumption flexibility and customization. So vendors are delivering specialized solutions and incorporating generative AI capabilities into their platforms to take the guesswork out of it. For those customers, and then customers can see value almost immediately. Now, the range with which organizations are willing to invest, it's still somewhat low, right? I think it was 32% are willing to invest 10% or less in generative AI capabilities. And look, right now we're in that phase where I think a lot of folks recognize the high level value, but there's still a fair amount that are waiting to see the results before investing more heavily. Over time, that's going to change, especially as use cases and case studies start hitting the market. And at that point, I think customers are going to look at their competition and see what they're doing and recognize that, hey, we can't wait any longer. We're going to be jeopardizing our place in the competitive landscape.
Exciting times to be sure. Mike, thanks so much for your time today. I'm looking forward to working with you further on this fascinating space. And thanks to the audience for joining us today.